Hello everyone, I'm Steve Andrews and I am continuing the reels that I'm making about what I'm calling the war against nature. And I'd like to start today's little talk with a song of mine called The Nightingale. And by the way, it's included on this album, Songs of the Now and Then, which was produced by Jayce Lewis. Anyway, I'll play you the song because it illustrates part of what I'm going to be talking to you about. You'll never hear a nightingale if their home's no longer there, destroyed by a developer who doesn't really care. Despite their claims otherwise about biodiversity, ripped up hedges, bulldozed lands, the reality I see, the reality I see. Who will stop the destruction of so many trees? Who will save the birds, the butterflies and bees? It comes down to the protesters, people like you and I. We cannot let them kill our world, we cannot let it die. They killed the trees in Sheffield, it's happening across the UK. Big business don't care about nature, despite what they may say. Businessmen and councillors don't care about a green city. They care about making targets, they care about big money. They care about big money. Who will stop the destruction of so many trees? Who will save the birds, the butterflies and bees? It comes down to the protesters, people like you and I. We cannot let them kill our world, we cannot let it die. We cannot let it die. So that was my song, The Nightingale, which illustrates some of the problems that birds are having and why birds are declining fast in many parts of the UK and elsewhere in the world. Building development destroys their habitats, housing developments. Because what happens is that they cut down the trees and they cut down the bushes and they remove wildlife habitat. Fields get built all over. And the birds have got nowhere to find food, the birds have got nowhere to nest, they got nowhere to live. So that's a big problem. And along with that problem is the fact that in spring, birds nest. Okay, everybody knows that. Birds, they nest. Many birds nest in bushes and trees and hedges. Okay, but if you cut down the tree, if you cut down a bush, if you prune back a hedge or hack away at it so there's hardly any vegetation there to keep it neat and tidy, there's nowhere for the birds to nest, and sometimes the birds are actually nesting in these trees and bushes and hedges when they are savagely destroyed. It's illegal to do this, but it happens. Another part of the problem is that birds find insects and caterpillars especially to feed themselves with and to feed the babies, to feed their baby birds, the chicks. They find these foods in bushes, in trees, in hedges. But if the tree's not there, if the bush has been pruned away or removed, if a hedge is hacked away so there's hardly any vegetation in it, there's nothing for the caterpillars to eat. There are hardly any insects there. There's nothing for the birds to find and eat or feed to their babies. So that's another major threat to birds. But it's not all bad. Sometimes there are good news stories. And I just wanted to share something with you about a bird called the swift. But before I share the good news story, I'm just going to tell you something about my dad, who passed away in 2018, age 98. Dad used to care about nature, and Dad used to notice what was going on. He used to notice that the swifts were more or less gone from the road he lived in. He used to keep a diary in which he kept the dates of when the swifts arrived each year and when the swifts departed later at the end of the summer. But he gave up doing it, and he told me the reason was that there weren't any swifts arriving anymore, so that he couldn't keep the dates. He didn't see any anymore. But it wasn't only the swifts that he didn't see. He didn't see the birds in his garden that he used to see. It used to be like when I was a boy, and actually later in life, it used to be so that if you threw some scraps out on the back garden lawn, you could expect to see maybe 10 house sparrows, 10 starlings, a couple of blackbirds, maybe a song thrush, some chaffinches, some greenfinches, hedge sparrows. All these birds were regulars in the garden. Robins also, wrens, coal tits, blue tits, great tits. These all used to feed in my dad's garden. But they were all gone. Today, maybe you get a couple of house sparrows, maybe a blackbird, and that's it. So Dad noticed this, and he found it very sad that all the birds had disappeared. But now I'm going to come to the good news story. The bird called the swift. Recently, very recently, there's a place called Chapel Milton Viaduct. It's in Derbyshire. And it was the subject of a big campaign because Network Rail had destroyed the swifts' nesting sites there, which were holes in the viaduct. And campaigners were saying, Network Rail, please can you do the right thing and unblock the holes so the swifts can return and nest there. There was a petition signed by thousands of people. The subject was trending on X. The subject was covered in the media. But Network Rail took a long time to do anything, and people were getting really frustrated and thinking, well, if they don't do something soon, the swifts will return. They're migratory birds, and they arrive each spring, early summer. And if they don't find anywhere to nest, they will have travelled in vain. So Network Rail were being urged, please, can you get on with this? Please, can you unblock the holes? But finally, there was success. Network Rail did the right thing, and they did restore the nesting sites for the swifts. So this actually shows that sometimes, people think, oh, well, what's the point? What's the point of signing a petition? Or what's the point of taking part in a protest demonstration? Because these things never cause, what we want to happen. We get ignored. But it's not true. If enough people speak out, raise their voices, sign petitions, then they can achieve success. And that happened recently with swift nesting sites in Derbyshire. So that's some good news about swifts. But there's something else about swifts that I want to share with you, which is also the subject of campaigns. There's a little thing called a swift brick, which can be attached to the outside wall of a house. And these swift bricks are wonderful because they give the swift somewhere that they can nest on your house or on a building. And they're easy to install, and MPs have been urged, to get this happening in towns and cities that they represent. Unfortunately, it hasn't been happening in many places. Councillors haven't done what they could do. But it is possible. It is possible to get swift bricks added, especially to newly built houses. It could be part of the program to add the swift brick to the newly built house. And older houses can have them attached. It gives the swift somewhere to nest. So that's something that can be done to help the swifts and help restore the populations of swifts to the UK. So that's something I wanted to share. And finally, I'm just going to talk about a serious threat to owls and to raptors. Raptors are hawks and buzzards and kite and harriers. These are all raptors, predatory birds. Because one thing which is killing them, and people don't even realize this, is poisoning. Because rats are killed by poison with rodenticides, which are rat and mouse poisons. But unfortunately, what happens is if you poison a rat, you poison a mouse, and it goes walkabout still while it's dying, an owl or a hawk or a buzzard may spot it and catch it easily because it's sick, it's very sick, it's dying. And the bird doesn't know that the rat or the mouse is poisoned. The rat thinks, oh great, the owl or the hawk thinks, great, I caught a rat now. And it may eat it, or it may take it back to feed its babies, and then they all get poisoned. So it's very sad that, and this is not just in the UK, it's basically all over the planet, where rat killers, poisons, rodenticides are used, that predatory birds are being killed. And that is why there is a sad drop in these birds. And of course, it's not only the birds that are being killed, predatory birds, because other mammals, scavenging mammals and predatory mammals, maybe like a fox, for example, will eat a rat that's been poisoned. So that's another problem that is resulting in the decline of birds. And something to think about, something very serious to think about, and I just hope that it inspires some of you who are watching this to do what you can to help save the bird populations. And I hope you enjoyed my song, The Nightingale. I'll leave it there. I'm Steve Andrews. Thank you for watching.